I've finally played Kingdom Come Deliverance. Not the brand spanking new KCD2, but the original from 2018. I've forced myself to actually play it, not just fire it up for a few hours and give up after experiencing the renowned clunky combat. I wanted to see why Kingdom Come is so loved by so many, but hated by so many others.
I don't want to waste time, we can get started.
If like me and you've been living under a rock and have never tried this game, then Kingdom Come Deliverance isn't your typical medieval RPG. There are no dragons, no magic spells, and definitely no chosen ones. Just grit, mud, politics, and a brutally realistic sword swinging in your face. And this is Henry. He's our hero, and he's about to get his medieval cheeks clapped by life itself. Whereas in actual fact, he's no hero at all when starting out. He's not even particularly skilled, and he might be the weakest video game character of all time. But what really sells the story is Henry himself. He's relatable, he struggles, learns, fails. Watching him grow is more satisfying than most power fantasy RPGs, because it feels earned. But I am getting ahead of myself though. First, you're going to have to struggle no end to get to that point. And my first quest? Get money from a drunk, help mom with chores, and maybe throw some poop on a wall. Peak medieval heroism. He has dreams of travelling the world and becoming a noble knight. But when your home is burned, your family killed, and war tears your world apart, your life is set on a course of revenge, survival, and growing into someone worth remembering. Following the raid on your home, the game then sets you loose, and you quickly find out how rough of a time you're about to have. And it didn't take me long to realise just how useless Henry truly is at just about everything. And when you first start fighting Kingdom Come Deliverance, the game doesn't just throw you into the deep end, it hurls you in, slaps the sword out of your hand, and gently reminds you that you are a blacksmith's son, not a Spartan warrior. You will flail, you will miss, and you will die to a guy in a burlap sack with a stick, and you'll deserve it. This is the exact reason many players uninstall after just the first few hours of playing. After only a few hours, I quickly realised that what makes Kingdom Come stand out is how deeply it respects the player's intelligence and patience. It assumes you're capable of learning, of paying attention, of failing, and trying again without a glowing arrow pointing the way. It doesn't spoon feed you solutions or simplify systems just to keep things moving. Trust that if you want to learn to sword fight, you'll train. If you want to read, you'll study. If you want to survive, you'll adapt. There's no instant gratification, no hand-holding. And Henry, well, Henry will remain useless unless you take the time to progress in learning the skills with him. And no amount of amazing equipment will save you here. You can strut into battle wearing the finest plate armor in Bohemia, with a master-crafted longsword blessed by 7 saints and sharpened by angels. But guess what? If you don't know how to use it, you're just a very shiny piñata. And the game doesn't care how expensive your gear is if you just haven't put in the training. You'll still get smacked around by a bandit in mismatched shoes. But what sets KCD apart from other RPGs is the combat, and this will either have the player hooked on learning the combat or immediately uninstalling the game. Getting your hands on high level armor and weapons in Kingdom Come Deliverance may seem like a major achievement until you realise Henry still fights like he's swinging a broomstick in a windstorm. But let's get one thing straight. The combat in Kingdom Come is one of the game's most polarising systems, and intentionally so. It is, by design, unwelcoming, unpolished in places, and unforgiving. And of course, to introduce you to this tricky mechanic, you are given a total of 1 combat tutorial with Captain Bernard, who will beat you down more than any enemy in this game. He'll start by teaching you the basics, which in most games will be enough to carry you through the majority of the game. However, a simple stab and slash won't even be enough to defeat a chicken in this game. So of course, after a short period of going into the open world, I'd find myself back at Bernard with further training.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
And in the end, Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't want combat to feel cool, it wants it to feel real. It's clunky, punishing, often unintentionally hilarious, and somehow still deeply satisfying. You don't master it by pressing buttons faster, you master it by failing miserably, limping away, practicing, and coming back slightly less terrible. But when you finally win a fight because you actually got better, not your gear, not your stats, just your countless hours with Bernard, it feels incredible. Exhausting, stressful, and possibly hernia-inducing, but incredible. It's not perfect, but it's honest. And in a world full of slick, over-designed combat systems, that weird, muddy honesty is kind of refreshing. I suppose my only gripe is the combos. I found myself constantly going back to the menus to study the combos, only for the enemy to stop any attempt in its tracks by the time I swung my sword. And we won't get started on the group fights because that is something I will never understand, with the constant switching of targets, but in terms of 1v1s, that is where the combat is most satisfying. Improving yours and Henry's skills is one thing, but the perk system in Kingdom Come is ambitious, but often more awkward than helpful. While it's meant to give you choices to shape Henry's playstyle, a lot of the perks either offer minimal benefits or come with strange trade-offs that don't always feel worth it. You'll find yourself unlocking abilities that sound useful until you read the fine print and realise that they come with odd downsides, like lowered stats in other areas or working only in niche conditions. It's not a broken system, but one that requires a surprising amount of thought just to avoid making Henry worse by accident. Plus, this guy can't even read. One of the first quests in the game required you to read, and I was stunned at how much I was going to have to go through to get someone to read the book for me, just to continue the quest. I even had to buy a potion for the guy just to progress the quest further, and once I had done this, he still wouldn't do it for me. I then decided to learn to read myself. When finally getting to the scribe, he told me that the lessons would cost money. Money which I had just spent on buying the fucking potion for the first guy. It seriously was quite tedious, but ended up being a funny story, and one which I'll remember from playing the game. Another mechanic I just couldn't master, no matter how hard I tried, was lockpicking. Lockpicking in Kingdom Come Deliverance is less of a minigame and more of a medieval anxiety simulator. The game said it's about delicate precision, but it feels more like you're trying to disarm a bear trap using a spoon and a hangover. Early on, even very easy locks may as well be made of solid spite, but with practice and a level of patience typically reserved for Buddhist monks, you can eventually crack open chests like a slightly drunk locksmith. Just don't forget to bring 37 spare lockpicks, you're gonna need them. And following from my traumatic experience with lockpicking, a moment which should have been my most rewarding turned into my most traumatic event in the playthrough. After grinding to become a squire, I was rewarded with my own horse, and of course I was taken with pebbles straight away. When riding out, I noticed it was quite far, so I would fast travel. Only for the animation to end after 2 seconds, I would open my eyes to my dead pebbles. Which brings us nicely onto my next issue, which is the fast travel itself. I spend ages watching my little fella walk all the way to my destination, only to be stopped 27 times by bandits, obstacles, and all sorts in my way, only to fail the check as soon as I press ignore. But when you're not fast travelling and you're actually experiencing the quests, then one of the strongest aspects of Kingdom Come is how flexible the quest design really is. Most quests can be approached in multiple ways through dialogue, stealth, combat, bribery, or just good old-fashioned wandering around until something works. This game doesn't funnel you down to one right path. Instead, it lets you mess up, improvise, and solve problems however Henry's very limited skill set allows. You can break into places, sweet talk your way in, or just punch someone and deal with the consequences. Sometimes your clever plan works, other times you accidentally knock out a monk and hide in a barrel for an hour. Either way, it's satisfying, because the game reacts to your choices in believable ways. Even when things go wrong, they often go interestingly wrong. But the quests lead into one of Kingdom Come's strongest features, the story. Not because it's flashy or full of shocking twists, but because it's so deliberately grounded and well paced. It starts small, a simple tale of a blacksmith's son trying to survive, and maybe just get some revenge. But it grows organically, weaving personal stakes into larger political turmoil without ever losing sight of Henry as a character. The pacing is surprisingly tight for such a massive game. You're always moving towards something, whether it's justice, redemption, or just learning how to hold a sword properly. And because it's rooted in actual history, everything feels more tangible. And just like I've been told in the reviews countless times, it is a slow burn, but a rewarding one. By the time you realise you're actually invested in this grubby peasant's life, it's already got you. But all jokes aside, this game is actually incredible. The detail, the realism, the world is like they've built a time machine just to make me feel poor. If you survive the first few hours and figure out how not to die trying to read a recipe, there's genuinely a deep and rewarding RPG here. In the end, Kingdom Come Deliverance is far from perfect, and it's seriously got some flaws. But that's part of what makes it so memorable. It's rough around the edges, occasionally frustrating, and never interested in holding your hand, but it respects your time and effort. The game asks you to learn, to adapt, and to live your own choices, whether they lead to success or a spectacular mess. And somehow, through all the mud and confusion and trial and error, it delivers one of the most immersive and rewarding RPG experiences I've ever had. It's not for everyone, but if it clicks with you, it really sticks. But let me know in the comments your thoughts on Kingdom Come Deliverance, and if you played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 yet. But that's all for today, and if you're interested in more videos like this, please consider subscribing and leaving a like if you enjoyed.